Welcome back to another edition of the Knight Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary and Alec Krauthamel. Got a decent amount to talk about today. More pressers from after spring practice today. Coach Sparber spoke to the media, and recent transfer Eric O'Neill also spoke to the media. We'll get into what they said. We have some hoops recruiting updates, some visitors who are lining up, and some recruiting updates on some transfer portal guys. And also there's some women's basketball recruiting updates from our own Alec Krauthamel. Talk about a player that they landed yesterday and possibly another player they're about to land. But before we get into any of that, this podcast is presented to you once again by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. The Final Four is upon us, and BetOnline has more ways to stay in the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. With the largest selection of odds on everything from college basketball to Major League Baseball, NHL and UFC, and even the Kentucky Derby and NFL season futures are ready for you to bet on right now. In between games, head to the BetOnline Casino with all the Vegas-style games that they have, including video poker and a live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right, so let's first get into Coach Sparber getting introduced to the Rutgers faithful. This is the first time he's spoken as a member of the Scarlet Knights coaching staff. For those of you who do not know who he is, Coach Sparber came over from James Madison this past season. He is the co-defensive coordinator along with Rob Smith. He is a Bergen Catholic graduate. He's a New Jersey guy. He went to Brown University. He was a captain at Brown before he got hurt, and he went into coaching, and he's been a coach ever since. So he's a fairly young guy. He's mid-30s. Just coming off the video that they released, he seems like a pretty high-energy guy. You guys were there talking to him. What was the general vibe of Coach Sparber when you guys were talking to him today when he spoke to the media? Rich, you could start.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely young. He's definitely energetic. I think this is the first time in a long time where I might be wrong on this, and you can correct me if I am. He might be the first time a coach is younger than me, which is just, it's weird to say.
No, I think he graduated high school in 2010.
Okay, so he's a little bit older. All right, never mind. Yeah. Just very high energy dude. You could tell before he even walked in, or I guess when he walked in the room, before he was on recording. Just seems like a solid coach. It's really hard to get a grasp for him just because you don't see him out there actually coaching. It's just more of a 10-minute interaction, 12-minute interaction, whatever it was. But he seems knowledgeable about the game. Very excited about the opportunity. Very excited to be back in New Jersey. He tipped his hand a little bit. We know that Shiano did interview him in the past. We didn't know when. He officially said it today. It was in 2020, right before the COVID hit and the NBA shut down. So I don't know what the math is there, or whenever that even happened, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's just seems like a solid coach. He's impressed by the linebacker unit. Kind of talked about how he's in front of the whole room. So even though it is technically just a title, he is still part of the entire defensive room. It's not like he's just focusing on linebackers. He's going out throughout the D-line room, the DB's room, et cetera, et cetera. New little acronym that they brought over with them, and I saw it the other day when we went to I think it was the Shiano presser. No, I'm sorry, the Kirk presser. I forget who it was. I think it was Shiano. Anyway, I'm walking through the Hale Center, and I look up. I'm like, what the hell is? It says TBA, trust, belief, accountability. It says family. We see all these. Like, what the hell is BEV? What is BEV? And he said it today. I actually already forgot, to be honest with you. What was it? It was. Damn, I really forgot what it was. I wrote it in the chat too. Oh, BEV. Ball Execution Violence. Different, interesting. We'll see if it ends up working or not. But yeah, he talked about his relationship with Rob Smith. That's really it. I mean, I don't think it was anything too crazy. I thought it was just a very normal, solid press conference. You could tell he's never done it before, though. That was the only thing that kind of slipped, I guess.
Yeah, Alec, I thought you asked a really good question, talking about some of the defensive minds he's learned under in Coach Bud Foster and Mike Elko. You want to talk about what his response was to that?
Richie kind of helped out with that one, but yeah, he. I agree with Richie that he definitely seemed a little bit nervous. He seemed like he was like trying to. If you watch the video, you can see really like looking in the camera and all that. But it's going to happen when you're a young coach and you haven't done it before. I thought it was really interesting how he talked about not just talking about Bud Foster, Mike Elko, not just them as coaches, like just pure football stuff, but like how they relate to people and things like that. That was like one of the first things that he mentioned, and how he's grown as a coach and things like that. And then working for even just the last few months under Coach Schiano as well, how much he's learned there. So yeah, I agree with Richie. I thought he's a very high energy guy. Again, like Richie said, we're not there on the field, so we don't know how he coaches the guys, but seems like he's enjoying it so far, and definitely good to hear from him. I thought he had some really good insights. I mean, looking back, when he would have probably interviewed with Schiano, so he was a defensive grad assistant at Virginia Tech from 2018 to 2020. So that probably would have been after the 2019 season is probably when he interviewed. Definitely when he interviewed with Greg Schiano. So he might have been brought on as a grad assistant then, had things gone a little bit differently in the entire world. But yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool insight. He ended up going back to Virginia Tech for one more year, then went to Duke, and then where he was there for 3 years, where he worked with Rob Smith, and that's kind of how that connection was there too. He talked about how much he learned from Rob Smith as well, and how that's helped him. He said the thing with Rob Smith that he talked about was the standard, the high standard went on to the Bev thing that Richie talked about. So definitely really good to hear from him. Seems to have a lot of excitement. Everyone does around this time of year, but it was definitely good to hear from him.
Anything else that Coach Sparber said that either of you guys thought was noteworthy before we move on to what Eric O'Neill said?
I don't know if it was noteworthy per se, but like when I asked him about he obviously played and coached under Nuns, and I was like, hey, did you ask Nuns before you took the job? He made it seem like it happened relatively quickly that he got this job offer from Rutgers. So I don't know if it was as simple as Rutgers just reached out and it was like, boom, done. I'm going home. I'm over it. I'm not because he was a candidate for that James Madison DC job and almost a favorite, it sounded like at one point. So
yeah, I think he would have probably gotten it had Rutgers not offered him the Co-DC here.
Yeah. So I wonder how quickly did Rutgers just reach out right away and they're like, hey, we need LB's coach. Boom. Rob Smith said this guy is the guy. Get him on here ASAP. And it seems like it transpired quickly. And being back home in Jersey, he's just very excited about that. His wife's from Jersey. He said his family's from Jersey. They're an hour away from his grandparents now. His kids are an hour away from their grandparents now. And it just seems like everything kind of lines up now. Let's see how he is on the recruiting trail, because you got a Bergen Catholic connection here. Got to abuse it.
And also the way he was talking, sorry, Mike, didn't mean to cut you off there, but the way he was talking, it seemed like this isn't another step up job. It seems like he wants to be here for the long haul at Rutgers around, his family and being home and things like that. That was the way he talked, where it seemed like a place that he wanted to be at for a long time.
Rutgers has certainly made inroads with the second tier of players at Bergen Catholic. They're still not landing the rivals Kaj. 100 level kids. Kaj
was pretty good. He's the one exception, but
yeah, but most of the guys, and this is no slight to guys like Chris Vigna and Brian Felter. Felter obviously has been a total stud for Rutgers, but he wasn't the most highly recruited guy. He was a solid 3-star, but Kaj Sanders, like you said, was probably the breakthrough kid at Bergen Catholic for Rutgers. But let's talk about another guy who played in the Big North and made his way to Rutgers eventually, Eric O'Neill, the standout transfer defensive end who played under Coach Sparber, who Coach Sparber had most very glowing things to say about Eric O'Neill when he was asked about him. This is a gut punch because we were pounding the table hard to go after Eric O'Neill.
Yeah.
And I think he said verbatim that Rutgers was his dream school. He had a lanyard that was hanging on his wall from when he did a camp at Rutgers, and he always wanted to come there, and it never worked out in high school. And he's just happy to be here now, 25 minutes from home. His whole family can come see every game. He said when he went to LIU, that was even 2 hours from his house. So Alec, what was your impression on what Eric O'Neill said, and what were some of the things that stood out to you in your dealings with him today?
I think it was just that, how he always wanted to go to Rutgers, and it was kind of his dream school, like you said, which again, like you said, kind of makes it, a little bit confusing why they didn't go after him more last year, but then you already had 2 established starting defensive ends, so he probably wanted a chance to start and all that, but he's here now, so that's all that matters now, but he's very excited to be here too. Obviously, he chose to come here out of the transfer portal. It just seems like a guy who, as he said himself, very team oriented guy, always wants to be there for his teammates and guys like that. One thing that I wanted to ask him that I ran out of time to do so was how his relationship with Daryl Dingoe, the other James Madison transfer on the defensive line, how much they talked about going to Rutgers, how close they are, things like that. But seems like he's ready for the challenge in the Big Ten. He's working towards it, just getting better every day, things like that. I thought it was good to hear from. I thought Richie asked a good question about the Ultimate Team card that he got in College Football 25. I forget what the program is, but something like it's like guys that have I don't remember what it is, but either way, it was pretty cool to see. But yeah.
From walk-ons to stars, I think it was, or something like that. But I was trying to figure out, I was like, when the hell did this kid walk on? Like,
I guess they're counting FCS as that, which
LIU maybe technically.
I don't think he walked on at LIU.
No, I don't
he
think
was
so.
a scholarship guy there.
Yeah, I'd be shocked. But I mean, I thought that was cool because like you see Baker Mayfield, you see Tyler Linderbaum, you see Jesse Bates, Zay Jones, and then all of a sudden it's like 99 overall Eric O'Neal, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, oh, look at that. So
second Rutgers guy or Rutgers adjacent guy to get a 99. Aaron Young, remember that?
You can't get them in the right uniform. It's a problem.
Yeah.
I do think a fun segment, speaking to you guys live about this, would be to do a roster breakdown of us guessing what everybody's rating will be in the game later this spring.
Good one. Yeah.
We could all just like have our rosters filled out. Kind of it's pointless exercise, but I think it'd be fun to do. Let's work on that.
Yeah, 100%. I love that video game, and it's cool because these kids get to play with themselves. Like, no, that sounds wrong. Pause. Rewind. You get to play as your own character. My fault. Yeah. Bad. Ignore that one.
Eric did mention that he has played as his card.
There you go.
In the game, and he said that they did a good job with it. So that's cool.
Jeez. But anyway, I thought he was just very upfront about everything. Like, we knew he wanted to go to Rutgers from the get-go. Like, I talked to him when he was playing tight end in 7v7 at Rutgers as a PC kid at the time. But it is cool. He's down the street, Staten Island, obviously not far away. Not worth it to some people. $18 for a bridge is kind of insane for me. That's just me personally. Once in a while, you go over there. What the hell's the name of the pizza? Lee's Pizza. If you like a bar pie. But other than that, there's really no reason to. I shouldn't say that. It's just close. It's close to home.
That turned into
you knew where I was going with that.
That turned from Eric O'Neal, it's close to be back home, to Staten Island sucks. Wow.
I'm sorry. I apologize. There's some good stuff over there. They have really good cannolis over there, too, which, I mean, makes sense. Italian descent.
So, yeah, just overall... impressed with Sparber, impressed with O'Neal. Anything that we didn't talk about from either presser that you guys wanted to hit on before we move over to some hoops recruiting?
Not that I could think of, to be honest.
I don't think so. I do find it really interesting that a lot of the new position coaches have a lot of familiarity, or I guess two of them have a lot of familiarity with Rob Smith. I mean, you're talking about obviously Sparber working with him at Duke, and then Vic Hall worked on the same staff at Penn State last year. I thought that was interesting. And I mean, it seems like they're doing a good job so far.
Putting this in the nicest way possible, kind of got to help the guy out as much as you can. Like, 2 times fired, like it's tough. Like,
yeah, it is
nicest way possible.
It is interesting how he made his way back to Rutgers, but I think they have a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, a lot of guys to replace, but I think they have the tools and the personnel to take a step forward this year. Let's see if they can pull together. Let's talk some portal hoops news then. We've highlighted a few guys who Rutgers was in on. It sounds like Rutgers is inching closer to getting some players on campus. So let's talk about some of the guys that you expect to make it on campus in the near future, Rich.
For the first one,
Darren, I should say.
First one's Darren Buchanan, George Washington wing. Yeah, I guess I'll categorize him as wing. I don't like putting wing on, like, because you gotta put a W instead of an F, and it's just like I feel like I'm playing hockey again. But anyway, Darren Buchanan, he's an interesting prospect. He had a really, really good freshman year with redshirt freshman year. He picked Virginia Tech out of high school over Rutgers. Was very close to going to Rutgers. I think Rutgers was the top school for a long time, but ended up going to Virginia Tech, and then transferred after a redshirt year to George Washington, where he put up like 15 points per game. He's putting up solid numbers. He looked good. He was shooting, I think it was like around 48% in his first year. And it took a dip his second year. He had a little bit of an injury where he missed a little bit of time. It's just, I question a little bit of what they're trying to do here. It's not like he's a defensive stopper. Is he a lengthy wing? Yes, he's solid there. Could he put up some points here and there? Yes. But most of his baskets are around the rim, finishing at the rim. I think he's very solid when it comes to attacking the rim and getting after it. But he doesn't really have an outside shot. He shot, 15% from the field or from three this past season? So it goes back again to what we kind of said with Pikel and his philosophy on offense. They just don't want the 3-point/rim, 3-point/rim. Stop going for these mid-range/rim guys that can't hit. So it is a little concerning. We'll wait and see what happens. They're battling Mississippi State there, it sounds like. Mississippi State has beat them out before with Delquan Warren, if you remember last year, before he flipped. So we'll kind of different situation, obviously, but we'll wait and see what happens with that one. Who else?
He was a guy who, when I was looking into him, he wasn't even a consistent starter for George Washington this past year.
Yeah,
which is concerning. If you're not starting, he started 15 games this past year out of 32 for George Washington, averaged 10.6 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game. 5.8 rebounds per game, 2.1 assists per game, 0.9 steals per game, and 0.4 blocks per game. I don't know if you can't start, regularly in the A10. What makes you think you can start in the Big Ten? That just concerns me.
So here's the interesting thing, and this is the beauty of Discord, especially Troy's Discord, is you have a fan group for every single team, no matter high major, low major, mid major, whatever. And one of them jumped into the Rutgers one, and he had this to say about him. I'm sorry, he actually jumped into a different one and said this about, and then jumped into the Rutgers one and said, whatever, you get the point. He said this about Darren Buchanan. He has a lot of talent, especially when he's driving downhill with a chance to finish at the rim, basically what I just said. He can hit threes, but really only when he's open, kind of concerning. Doesn't have to create a shot for himself, again, concerning. Relatively unselfish, solid rebounder, defense can use some work, but he tries, and it's like, okay, great. Like they said his stats drop off is mostly from an early season injury, plus it kind of took him out of the rotation, and when he went to go back into the rotation, Rafael Castro, a transfer for George Washington, ended up breaking out and basically just stealing all his minutes. When he got healthy, he still never got back in the rotation really fully. They just said his play style didn't mesh, which is just really concerning. And he also said, he ended it on this. He said, I don't know if he can, this was in a Big East Discord. He goes, I don't know if he can hang in the Big East skill wise. And it's like, okay, he ain't hanging in the Big Ten skill wise either. But he's a high character kid. So that team GPA 3.4 is not going nowhere.
Something you didn't cover at all in that. And this is really important. So I need to know this. Does he come from a good family?
I
Hope
know.
So.
High character
right,
kid.
Because if not, like Shark Tank, I'm out.
It's just concerning. Like it's sad that we're at this point. Like had so much faith.
The guys that Rutgers is being connected to are Darren Buchanan, who was not a consistent starter on a very mid George Washington team who lost by 30, I think, in the Crown to Boise State in the first round. Mm-hmm. Tariq Francis, who's 6 feet tall and shot 45% of his shots in the mid-range for NJIT this past year. You saw the
comments on our video. Analytics don't matter. They don't mean shit.
Yeah,
like, dude, that's
right.
It's literally what it's all about nowadays. It's not our fault that Rutgers doesn't have a giant analytics department like most schools.
Yeah, what does matter then?
Nothing,
I'd love to hear that.
Guess, right?
Yeah. Like,
he put up 19 a game, Mike. He put up 19 a game.
Yeah, 19 a game.
18 and a half shots.
Anyway. So let's hit on Tariq Francis real quick. It sounds like from what you were saying, and you can get into this further, he's kind of Rutgers for the taking if they're interested, if they want him. What's going on with Tariq Francis?
Yeah, if they want him, he's theirs. It sounds like there's a little bit of a debate going on between the staff members. Of course, I'm sure his mentor, Brandon Knight, is in his corner. It says it in his NJIT bio, family friend / mentor, Brandon Knight. So you would assume he's in his corner. I would assume Smoke is probably in B Knight's corner since they're very close with one another. And it's probably just Steve and whoever else, maybe TJ, because TJ's a Steve guy. And they're going back and forth, just kind of debating if they want to take him or not. I mean, I think you're at the point where you've already lost out on 3 different guards out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, out of the 8 you've reached out to. I don't think you're going to get Joel Bethea. I don't think you're going to get Kennard Davis personally. Apparently, he has a $7 million offer on the table. They just reach out to him.
Wait. 7-figure, not 7 million.
Oh, 7.
Right?
So, yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Oh, holy shit.
I was gonna say,
Sorry. My bad.
Is this
My bad.
AJ DeBance that we're talking about here?
He ain't that good. But that's my point. DeBance has got a $7 million offer. Like, there's money just being thrown around. And I know Jeff Goodman came out and said it. 2.5 agents are throwing out the 2.5 to 3 million per player type deals for these top level prospects. AJ DeBance hasn't stepped foot on an NBA college court, and he's already got a $7 million offer from BYU. That Mormon money's crazy. But anyway, back to Rutgers. I don't know if you really do you take them? Yes, because you have 0 backcourt right now. It's the problem is Tariq Francis is essentially Jermichael Davis, just a little bit different. They're all, and then you add in Lino Mark, and then you have 3 of the same player basically. And they're all short guards. They can score a little bit here and there. Yes, is Jermichael Davis a better defender than the other 2? Yes. Is Tariq Francis a better shooter than the other 2? Probably. Is Lino Mark going to be raw coming into college? Yes. But how many 6-foot point guards are you going to get when I don't really know if any of them can actually run the offense? It's more of they're all scoring caliber guards or shooting caliber. It's like a shooting guard, but they don't have the shooting guard title. I don't know. I don't know if I would take him or not. I think I would aim higher personally, but they've already missed out on Adam Clark, who went to Seton Hall. They missed out on Orlando Lovejoy, who went back to Detroit Mercy, which mind-boggling a little bit because I thought he would have been a guy. And then Nick Boyd wanted to come back home to the Northeast, right? Goes to Wisconsin, and it was down to Wisconsin or UNC. And UNC actually thought they had him, and Wisconsin apparently up their ante, and seems like everyone has money but Rutgers.
Yeah, and I know that Rutgers does have money. We have the $3 million roughly in rev share. We have the $1 million from Vegas. KTR just did that big donor match push, so there's probably a few $100,000 there. So yeah. I would estimate it at between 4.5 and 5 million for Rutgers to spend in the portal, or on the team rather. So, they just gotta shit or get off the pot here. You got to be aggressive because a lot of these guys are. You had mentioned that a lot of players were waiting until after the 31st to get their last NIL checks for this past season.
You saw that kind of.
Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully they have a few guys they're waiting on, or they have, they're working clandestine on a few really high-end dudes because, the names that are coming out, these are not guys who can lead your team in scoring and defense type names.
No, you need a scorer.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that Rutgers is connected to that we should keep an eye on? Any updates on?
Yeah, Jarrett Valencia. I reached out to recently. Monmouth kid. Alec actually could talk more about him than me because he saw him at the JSPL a little bit this offseason. I think you were raving about him too before he.
Oh no, that was Bashir.
Oh, well, that makes sense now. That adds up. But yeah, they connected to him. Jerry Deng out of Florida State, but it sounds like it's a long shot there. It's tough right now. Jocelyn Bodo, they were looking at from High Point, the big man. Harlan Obioa out of UNC Wilmington. It's honestly throwing shit at a wall right now. And this is what really drives me nuts is when I wasn't there specifically, but from what I know from the on record Pikel thing meeting last week where everyone wrote an article about it. So he basically just said, he's yeah, we're reaching out to kids and it's I'm already going to school XYZ. And it's okay, you should be tampering too. Like I said this last pod, why are we not tampering? Everyone has to tamper at this point. That's the only way you can get kids nowadays. If you're not tampering, you're screwed. You're just setting yourself back. And any advantage you have of being ahead of the game because you were out so early, you lost because you didn't tamper like everyone else.
Yep.
So it drives me nuts.
Yeah, they're certainly not being proactive enough in the portal. Especially, they had a time advantage. They could have been in on this, but they didn't. So we will report names as they come in and have information on visitors as they happen. Last thing we wanted to talk about today, Alec, let you have the floor here. How is the recruiting world going for the transfer portal for the women's team?
So so really all the activity's been mostly in the backcourt. They have lost 2 and they have gained 1. Obviously, we already talked about Keelan McMiller entered the transfer portal. I think last week ago now. 2 days ago on Tuesday, they landed another one. They landed a new guard from Stephen F. Austin. Let me pull up the story so I can properly talk about it. Yes, Faith Blackstone from Stephen F. Austin. She's going into her 6th year. This is her 6th school in 6 years, which is kind of crazy. She is native of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, went to high school down in North Carolina. She went to Syracuse, only played in 6 games. Actually opted to enter the transfer portal, then played at North Carolina A&T. Saw a little bit of a jump in production. She played in 22 games, started 11, averaged 5 points, a rebound and a half. She kind of played some of her better basketball as the season went on in conference play. Then she entered the transfer portal again, then went down to the JUCO level, transferred to CCBC Essex down in Baltimore, Maryland. There she had her breakout, averaged 20 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2.5 steals, led them to an NJCAA, I think it was Division II National Championship, and she was named NJCAA Division II National Player of the Year. She had a 27-point, 10-rebound performance in the national championship game. 36-1 the team went. She was their leading scorer. And then after that, she went to Coppin State, not too far away out in Maryland, and she continued to play well. Back in the Division I level, she made the All-MEAC first team, was named the 6th player of the year, averaged 12 and 4 in 16 starts. Was also named a second-team All-American according from Box Toro, I think it is. It's a big list of HBCU All-Americans. And then for her 5th season, she went to Texas. She went down to Texas to play for Stephen F. Austin. She continued her upward trajectory there as well. Averaged 15 points, 6.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. Started 22 games. Scored a career high 26 back in December. She even scored 24 against Coppin State, her former team, which was kind of funny. Stephen F. Austin made the NCAA tournament this year. They won the Southland Conference, and they ended up losing to Notre Dame, which really good Notre Dame team, and they've had plenty of turmoil in the transfer portal of their own, but that's a story for another time. But she ranked in the top 10 in field goal percentage, free throw percentage, in the Southland, all first team in that conference. She's really big on getting to the basket. She's 6-foot guard. 66% of her field goal attempts came in the paint or at the rim. And she shot nearly 40 more free throws than anyone else in the Southland Conference last year. She shot 53% from those 214 attempts at the rim. Not a lot of her field goal attempts or field goals were assisted at the rim, so she created a lot for herself. But then she also went up in terms of 3-point production over the years. 76% of her 3-pointers were assisted on that end, so a lot of spot-up opportunities as well. It's going to be interesting to see how she fits in. There's definitely going to be some kind of adjustment when it comes to going from the Southland to the Big Ten, so we'll see how she adjusts in that regard, especially considering you're probably going up against stronger and bigger players in the Big Ten compared to the Southland Conference. But this is definitely a good start considering they're losing, I think, 5 of their top 6 leaders in points per game from last year, whether it's graduation or transfer portal. And there might be another one coming soon, so definitely stay on the lookout for that when it eventually comes out. We'll have to wait and see. And then, so for the loss, Lisa Thompson entered the portal, or announced her intent to enter the portal last night. She, over 2 years at Rutgers, averaged, I think, 5 points a game. Definitely saw her role decrease this past year. She had a couple of injuries that she was dealing with, also more established guard room at Rutgers. So she'll have 2 years of eligibility remaining elsewhere. But yeah, so far it's been all in the guard room. 2 players have left. 1 has come in, and there might be another soon. So again, definitely keep up on the lookout for that.
You're telling me women's might have 2 commitments for Rutgers when men's have 1.
Possibly, depending on the timing.
Also, they just stopped playing tomorrow. On Sunday too.
Yeah. They didn't need that quick. Quick turn.
That's what I was a little confused about, because they were supposed to have a visitor on campus over the weekend, but I think her name is Zakiya Milton from Auburn, but they were on the road over the weekend, so I don't know if she still visited or what. I'll try to ask around about that if she actually did visit. But interesting one there. Yeah, they were on the road last weekend, so pretty interesting.
All right. Well, thanks for listening again. This Saturday, Rutgers will have is it the scrimmage Saturday? No, it's not this
next
Saturday. But they will have Coach Shiano available for his weekly presser, and they will also have Coach Shaw available for his yearly presser as well. Player TBD. So stay tuned. We will have some reactions from that this weekend. But I want to thank you guys once again for listening. Thanks, everyone.